Window. Okay. Yay! Welcome everybody. I am here with the fabulous Lacy Craig, and she is a business mentor and success coach. And I'm just going to let her take it away and explain a little bit more about who she is, who she serves, and what she does in the world. So go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Lexi. So I'm a business mentor and success coach. My business is called A Lit Up Life. And my mission is basically to do just that, like help other women create a lit up life by creating businesses that give them both the income and impact that they really want to create that fulfilling life that makes them feel lit up all the time.
Amazing. I love it. And so how long have you been doing this? Have you been on this journey? Share a little bit with us about I don't want to go too much into the story because I feel like we talk about that a lot on different podcasts, but a little bit about where you started from.
Yeah. So I feel like I've been on the path for a really long time, if that makes sense. Basically, I tried different things. I went to school and got my master's in mental health counseling. I ran a nonprofit. I got my MBA. I ran another business, and then I started this business. So very long and windy road, but it all kind of merged together here. And I've been in this business for 2 years at the end of next month.
Love it. Amazing. And so I know that a lot of what we talk about on this show is around success and the different shades of it. So both the light sides and the dark sides. So I'd love to know for you what success means to you and how do you define it for yourself?
I love that. So when I was working at the nonprofit, it was a great job. I was a director of a really large nonprofit here. And I got a lot of feedback you should be so happy you have your dream job at such a young age. And I just remember that I would drive to work and just be is this really all there is? I would ask myself that every day and be holy crap, this cannot be what having a dream job feels like. And so for me now, success is not waking up and asking myself that question, not feeling is this all there is, but feeling purposeful and lit up when I'm getting ready for work, or I want to get up in the morning and not this sense of oh my God, is this what this is supposed to feel like? Right.
Yeah. I mean, I literally felt the same way. I did not have my dream job though. And I would just be so anxious every day. I would go to sleep and I couldn't sleep because I was I know I'm meant for so much more than this. And where's my calling? Where's my purpose? How do I find this thing that people are talking about? And I would, my now fiance is just it's hilarious because before you wouldn't be able to sleep because you were so upset with what you were doing. Now you can't sleep because you're so excited.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it just but being in that space, it can totally suck. And I don't know about you, but I've definitely had experiences along the way of this entrepreneurial journey when I did wake up and I was kind of dreading things in my business. And I was shit, this isn't supposed to happen. I am my own boss. I'm making all this money. I have the freedom, but I'm still feeling really stuck right now or just not lit up. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that along the way. And if that was a wake up call for you to do something different. I'm not sure if you've had that experience or not.
Yeah, definitely. So when I kind of first started out, one of the main things I focused on was content. I'm a huge fan of content, still talk about it all the time. I think it's obviously what we're doing here. It drives our businesses, right? Yeah. But I felt really kind of boxed in, everyone tells you niche down. And I did, and it was great. And there were so many good things about that. But I just got to this point where I was this is in no way utilizing all my skill sets. I'm not bringing all the stuff about me to the table, right? I'm leaving all this other stuff over here. And so that was sort of the point where I I just have to say, screw the rules and what niching down means and go a little bigger or do this differently because I just can't keep doing it in this way. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel that's another really popular topic, especially people who I work with. They're I'm multi-passionate and I have all these interests and actually I'm really fucking good at all these things. And I keep being told I have to be the expert in one place. And that just feels super limiting to me. What the hell do I do? And so I love working with those multi-passionate people and showing them you get to show up fully as yourself. And that's actually what makes you unique and different. So I think that is one of the rules that we hear a lot, and it works really well for some people, which is great. but I'd love to hear like a little bit more about your experience and what like different passions or areas of expertise that you had that you felt like you weren't showcasing, and then how you like took those all together to swirl them into your own unique magic.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I'm with you, right? Like it worked. My business took off quick and it was good.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's great because like it works. That's obviously not a problem, but also like it was sort of a negative in the sense that like I was really scared to do something different because it worked. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes. I love this too, because I feel like this is like where a lot of people are at as well. It's like, if it's not broken, like why should I fix it?
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
Exactly. That's sort of where I was at. Like, and I remember like asking myself, like, are you just being a baby? Like, are you just like, oh, now I have everything I want. Now I want it to be different. Right. Like, and finally I was like, I don't really care if I'm being a baby. Like, I'm going to do the thing. So, what I really wanted to bring to the table was like a lot more mindset work, because that is like what swirls around content, right? Like, how do I get visible? How do I put myself out there? Holy crap, that's scary. So like a lot of people would come to me and they would feel like, oh, I just need help with my message and with content and with strategy and whatever. And that was never the thing, or it was never the only thing, right? It was like other stuff. So what I ended up doing was kind of figuring out like, what's my framework for success? Like, how do I bring all the things that I've learned from my past, like education and experience? And what that turned out to be for me was just mindset, strategy, and execution. And so that's like my niche now, right? Like I still have one. I just like created my own version of that. And now I talk about this framework and how that is how I coach and run my programs. And so it's still niched. It's just like in a way that actually feels good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so for people who are kind of like on that brink of, okay, things are going well, but I know I actually am really desiring this, I'm just scared shitless to move in that direction, what advice like would you give them in terms of moving forwards?
I think that like the best advice is that like take what's working. So like what was working was that I had a specific message, right? Take, not because I picked content or something like that. Right. So take what's working and then like use that as the bridge to get to where you want to be. But I think like do it sooner rather than later, because the longer you put that off, the more your business is at risk, really, because you're going to just burn out and like say fuck it at a certain point, or you're going to do the thing you want to do. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what's so interesting too, is that people, while they're experiencing like success, like maybe outwardly or financially or whatever, it's not fulfilling them. It's not lighting them up. And we can get like so stuck. It's almost more dangerous to have like that success, because you're like, okay, well, things are going well, so like, why should I change them? Like, I don't really have to. But like when you are forcing yourself to do something that's not in alignment, like you said, burnout, it's totally inevitable. And it's something that in my business too, like same thing. Like I was pushing until I broke down in so many different ways, and like I couldn't move forwards anymore. So I love that. And were there any other times or like different rules that you've heard inside of the industry that you're like, oh shit, okay, like I have to do this in order to be successful? And what were those, and how did it go if you did follow them for a little while?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that well, I have a lot of these. I'm like totally all about this, but one of the things that's really true for me is like one-on-one feels really important to me. Like it's my personality. I'm an INFJ, like it fits my counseling background, all of that. Like, it's just really important to me. And a lot of feedback I got was like, it's time to scale past that. Like you have to have a signature program, whatever. And I was just like, that feels such a no on so many levels, right? So that was one. I still don't have a signature program. I have courses that I do, but like, there is nothing, I will never say never, but like the likelihood that I'll ever do that is probably slim to none, because I know what my zone of genius is. And then I think another one is like the idea of like raising your prices all the time kind of thing. Like I haven't raised my prices in a while actually. And like, I've explored like, is this a money mindset thing? What's the thing here? And I just really like believe in charging a certain amount for like the person I'm trying to serve. Like I mostly serve new entrepreneurs, and I feel like there's a cap to that. Like I want them to be smart business women. I don't want a new entrepreneur to invest 20K in coaching. That's not a smart business decision, in my opinion, right?
Right.
So some of those are just like, where are my values at? And then how can I like craft my business around that? Not that it's wrong to do it another way. It's just like, what is my way, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I'd love to like go a little bit deeper into what it is that you offer and what those do look like for you and how your business is structured around this model that you have right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the main thing I offer, the thing that is like my bread and butter, would be my 6-month coaching package. It's one-on-one coaching. I'm like really in depth with my clients. Like I basically like want them to feel like they have a partner in their business. And I know that that's definitely my zone of genius. Like that's where I thrive. That's where I'm happy. I also do intensives, both like in person and online. And I do a course called Value Centered Sales, which is like a specific, topic. It's not like the whole thing, but it's just about like doing sales in a way that feels good. And then this year I added in a mastermind and retreats. So like different streams of income for sure, but like all in ways that serve me and feel good to me. And even with value centered sales, like what I did differently was instead of doing like group coaching, you get the program and then you can get a one-on-one intensive with it. Cause I just know that that's like my space. You know what I mean?
Yes. And I love that because I do think that there is typically that path of, oh, you start out with one-on-ones and maybe a group program and like courses and like scaling, automating and all that stuff. And that works for some people, but I love that you like, really, no, I know that I love the one-on-one work and that's like where I'm going to stay and you just own it. And I think that's so important because there are so many mentors and gurus and people out there telling us what to do. And I think in the beginning, we try to like latch on and we're like, okay, I need that guidance. But then slowly but surely we're like, okay, no. I know it's true for me and I just have to go with that. So I love that. And I know that before you did, and I'm not sure if one of these was what you mentioned, but someone was saying like, Lacy has this Shark Tank program. So can you explain a little bit about what that is and if you still have it, if it's one of those things?
Definitely. So it's basically instead of working for like a coaching fee each month or at the beginning of a program, basically I take on clients and I work with them and I only make 15% of the revenue they generate in our work together. So I've done it twice so far. One of them I'm like in process with. So we're only about halfway through or so, well, more than halfway. But anyway, it's been an amazing experiment. So I really like to like test and tweak things. And like the first round, we had 3 people and 2 of them actually ended up paying me more than my coaching fee. So that was super exciting. But it's like a process. So it's not like just come on down, I do this. It's like twice a year I open it up and it's like a 4-week application process because they're not investing money up front. So I like really need them to invest their like time and energy. And then I pick 3 or 4 people and we work together in that capacity for 6 months.
That's amazing. And so how did you come up with that originally?
Honestly, it was just sort of like, divine intervention. I was just taking a bubble bath and was like, this is a great idea. But I mean, it had been brewing, right? Like, I am so not a fan of like some of the stuff in our industry about like, if you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. And I do believe to a certain extent, we all get to make our own choices. But I think the like shameful way of marketing to that or selling that is not really something I love. And my background is in nonprofit. And a lot of what we did there was like, how do we break down barriers? How do we make services easier to access? And so I was sort of thinking about that in the space of coaching. And then it just kind of showed up for me.
That's so cool. I've never heard anybody else who like does something exactly like that. So I find it so fascinating and just so out of the box. And I love when things are just not like the typical thing and not just to be different, but with like an interesting purpose and intention behind it. So I think that's really, really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And so as you see yourself like moving forwards and your business progressing, have you taken a look at like when it does come to scaling or any like desires that you have for your business moving forwards, what that will look like and how it will either like stay the same in some ways or change based off of what you want moving forwards?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so for me, like the partnership, it's called a lit up partnership, the 15% model, that's actually a really scalable model, right? Because
totally.
like the income is unlimited depending on the size of person, solopreneur, business, small business, whatever that you're working with. So I see that totally being an income stream that I'd like to scale. And then I'm like very, what's the word? Like strategic in the sense of like not trying to fit into a box, but I like to like do one thing and do it well. So like this year I added like a mastermind and retreats. So that's like here, right? And then next year, I'm sure I'll add something else to that. The year before that, I added value-centered sales. So it's sort of like, I just like to move in this like progressive pattern. And so I see that is like not a tapped out place that is scalable, meaning like there is always something else to do, but like I don't stress it either. Like I'm not thinking about 4 years ahead. How am I going to continue scaling?
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, cool. And so when it comes to actually marketing your programs and your offerings that you have going on right now, is there like a way that you feel like you do things differently than other people, or is there like a method that you swear by? And have you tried things in the past that have felt like really icky, and then from there refined your process?
Definitely. So kind of how I like market and sell, I put around this like value-centered sales framework. And I think it really just is about like, are you giving value, number one? And then two, like, are you empowering your clients? Like, so when I was first in business, I remember thinking that I like sucked at sales because I wasn't doing it how everybody else was telling me to do it. And like, when you were hearing stuff about like, well, ask them if they want to put it on a credit card, I was like, there's like 0% chance I will ever do that, because I find it to be so disempowering to say that to like a sane, normal adult that could figure that out. Right. So I just was like, oh my God, I'm doing sales so wrong. And I didn't really jive with the way I was learning it. So then I took another course, and like the first day of the course, she was like, I want you to figure out your conversion rates. And I went back and looked at mine because I'd never even looked at that. I just thought I was bad at it. And I was like, holy shit, my conversion rate is 100%. I never even finished the course, which was too high. I mean, I wasn't obviously being discerning enough, but I never even finished that course. And it was just like such a moment of like, oh my God, like, why am I putting myself through this? This is like not even relevant. I'm like spending all this money, all this stressed out energy, and it's like, it's fine. So now this is like sort of how I market and sell, because I'm like, oh, that actually was working. Who knew?
Yeah. And so when it comes to like, I guess like internet marketing, do you like Facebook, Instagram, like emailing people? Like, do you have like a thing that you really like to own, or multiple things? How does that work for you?
Yeah, definitely. I would say like my two biggest focuses are definitely Facebook, my own group. I really think like engaged communities are like the most valuable thing that you can have as a service provider. Now, it doesn't have to look like an engaged community on Facebook. I think anywhere is fine, but like mine happens to be on Facebook, and that is something I pour a lot of time and energy into, because it's like the best, most scalable relationship building tool there is. And then same with my email list. Like I really, those are like my two pieces of focus, because I just think it really is about, am I giving value and am I building the relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. And so when it comes to like your Facebook group or emailing your list, do you have like any tips for people who might not like, I mean, it's like the big thing is like 3 solo mail or like 2 solo mailers and like 1 sales thing, like every week, like, do you have rules for yourself around that? Or is like there a way that you write to your email list, or is there a certain way that you engage with your group that you figured out is like your unique way? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for me, like engagement is like number one, right? So I definitely do not email on my list 3 times a week. I mean, my only rule around that is value to them once a week. Because I really think that, and you know, not even just value, but I like it to be personal because it's the engagement thing. So I do like this little thing at the bottom of my emails that's like what I'm listening to, what I'm reading, what I'm doing to unwind, just like silly stuff like that, that like helps us to like engage. I'm always going to ask them a question and have people respond, or ask them to tell me something, because I really think that, like, I never want to be one of those people that has 5 people between me and like the people I'm serving. Like, you don't need to respond to my VA, like respond to me, or like same in my group. Like I just try to be really engaged. And I think people think that that takes so much time, or that that would be so stressful. I probably am in my group 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. But the point is, like, it's me and it's me building that relationship. There's not like all these people in between, right?
Yeah, no, I love that. And something that I've just been so passionate about recently, like when I work with clients, like, oh, I want to grow my list like 5,000 or 10,000. Like, why? Like,
Exactly.
what's the reasoning behind that number? And like, ultimately it's because they want to get clients and make sales and like make an impact. It's like, okay, well, you don't actually need that number in order to have like that effect and that impact. And so I just think that, yes, numbers are so important to track and be aware of. It's something that actually like was like a weakness of mine for such a long time. I was super blind to my numbers. Ignorance is not bliss. But I think that we start to look at our community as numbers and like that's a problem. And they're humans, right? It's like at the end of the day, like the things that I teach my clients is so simple. It's like basic human connection with people. And I think that that can get so lost so quickly when at the end of the day, it's like, how would you interact with this person if they were like face to face with you? Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah,
I use that so easily. So I'm so happy you said that.
I agree so much. Like, I think even, I like to like know that I have stuff in my back pocket too, right? Like, meaning like I haven't done like this huge like push for being on a ton of podcasts or whatever. Just like, let's use that as an example, because like, I don't want my list to like blow up that fast and then have nothing to serve these people with. Like, I want to slowly grow that and know that I have different tools in my back pocket to keep using and growing. Because if I'm bringing in 10,000 people and not building a relationship with them, there's just no point. It's just like people I'm paying for to be on an email list, right?
Yeah, I love that. And it's something that I've kind of realized more recently, like as my list has grown a lot more, I'm like, okay, great. But are these people even relevant? Can I serve them in the best way possible? Like exactly what you just said. I'm like, no. Right. And so like now, like I'm working on ways that I can, but I was just realizing that they're kind of just like sitting there and like, what's the point of that? So yeah, for people who are, and I think it's different, maybe like as if you have products or things that you're trying to like get out to more people, but when you are working more intimately, like you don't need 10,000 people on your list to like fill out your one-on-one program or your masterminds. Like you can have 100 people on your list and you're fine, or 30 people. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's something that is so lost on people as well. Like, oh, my Facebook group only has 20 people. Like, should I just not engage until there's like 100? I'm like, no. Like, if you were to put those 20 people in a room right now, like,
those are all the clients you need for the year, basically, you know?
Exactly. So I think it's like, again, like imagine that being in person, 20 people in the room, like all the people you could engage with and hear their stories and how you could support them. So for anybody who like feels discouraged that's watching right now, that you might not have like thousands of people, it doesn't matter. You do not need that to have an impact and be like successful.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly, I probably had less than 400 people on my list when I hit 6 figures. Like, it's just not necessary at all. I mean, it's necessary to keep growing it, but I mean, those big numbers aren't.
Right. Yeah. And I think my first year of business, I was so like all about the numbers and like, yeah.
Now you're like, who cares? I mean, you watch them, but it's not the thing.
No, it's like, it's totally not like the focus. I mean, growing my community and obviously the people I'm actually serving is the focus. And yes, to get new people in, but it's not like, oh, I need to grow by another 5,000 people now.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. And so I feel like in this industry and like with life in general, there's like these dark sides and these light sides of success. And I feel like we're always talking about the lighter side, which is great. It's important to celebrate and share that. And I really do believe that people should be owning their light and not dimming it. But I'm also curious to know like the darker sides of it and what have been some times like inside of the business where you felt like really stuck or lonely or confused or just like, this is totally not what I was expecting it to be. Any moments that you can kind of just like let us into, that would be really cool to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that sort of like this desire to do it differently has kind of been like a little bit of a not darker side necessarily, because it's definitely brings some great things too, but I think it's just hard to feel misunderstood. Like when you have a coach or a support team or whatever that just do not get it, that you are like a no to something, right? Like I'm a no to a signature program. Like there's nothing bad about that. So that has been a little hard for me because I think sometimes it makes you check your own belief system. Like, is there something fucked up about me because I don't want to do this? And then I think another part was sort of like, I did have success really quickly. And then I felt so much pressure to like, I felt like there was like a point in time where it was like 7 figures is the new 6 figures. Like, it's not even great to make 6 figures anymore. And I just like really had to pull back. Like I, set my goal this year for like 250, which is still a fuck ton of money and it's great. But like, I just realized like what it would take for me to go to 500, 1 million, whatever is like just not something I want to do.
Yeah.
At least right now. Right. Like I want it to be bit by bit that I get there and like actually am able to have a life with that. But I felt that pressure for a long time. And I really felt the pull between like, is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this like the only way to be successful? Will people think that I'm not successful if I don't scale that quickly? Like that was a huge edge for me.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that. I remember last year, a bunch of like my really close friends were like, 2017 is the year that I make 1 million, or even 2016, actually. 2016 was the year they made 1 million. And I was like, that is not my goal at all. Like, oh my God, like what's wrong with me? Oh my gosh, like, am I going to be falling behind? Like, oh my, like, are people even going to want to work with me anymore? And it's like,
yep.
And I'm not saying like, don't like shoot for the stars and set big goals, but it's like the amount of people who actually end up hitting that goal, I think there's maybe like one person. But it's just like so funny because I feel like we were all feeling the pressure, like, okay, you've hit the 6-figure mark or multi-6-figure mark. Like you got to go to 7 figures now. And I was like, this is not true for me at all. Like really, truly. But I feel you. I was like, shit, man, like, am I doing something wrong here?
Yeah, exactly. It's like really, it just is such a mind game, right? Like, and really, we're so fortunate, like to make 250K doing something I love, working from home, doing what I want most of the day. I just got done on a run before I came to this. Like, that is like such a gift. And so I like really went through a period where I wasn't seeing it as a gift. It felt like more pressure than anything. And so I like, that has been like my work this year is to like, let the gift be a gift. Right.
Yes. And I remember what a friend of mine was like, why aren't you shooting higher or something like that? And I was like, because I don't really feel like I want that pressure. And like, what do you mean? And I was like, I love the life that I live right now. Like my lifestyle is perfect. Like, are there other things that I want? Yes. And I'm going to like shoot for those things, but I don't need $1 million to like be living that right now. So it's just so interesting. And because I do know like a lot of 7-figure business owners and a lot of them like too, like are struggling in their own ways and like feel so much pressure and they don't get to live the life that they actually want. And most people don't know this like on the inside, but like I've seen it and I'm like, I don't want that. So it's interesting.
Absolutely. And I think especially because like, so when I look at people in our industry that have been successful for a long time, they got there slowly. And I also know like from business school, right? Like what is the number one way that new businesses fail? It's always because they scaled too quickly because it's just not sustainable in the sense of like to go from 0 to 1 million in like a year or two, you're going to hit a burnout point. There's going to be like skid marks on the road behind you, right?
Totally. And if it's not your, like, it's reflected in other areas of your life, like your relationship, your health, etc. I mean, I've been there even like trying to get to the 6-figure mark, like things were sacrificed in like my life and my health and it sucked. So I can't even imagine like trying to push to 1 million and like do that when it's not time yet. So I love that you share that because I think there is such a thing of like, well, it's 6 figures to 7 figures, it's like, okay, let's calm down and like, you don't need that. And not saying like you don't need that money, because I do think that to an extent too, like money allows for you to live a lifestyle you desire, but it's like, sometimes you need less than you actually think you do. And I think it's important to remember that.
Yeah. And again, like it's just perspective, right? Like if I went to like a bar tonight and told someone that I work at home for like you know, getting to do something I love and I'm going to make 250K this year doing that or whatever, they'd be like, holy shit. Like, but in our space, it changes that, right? So it's just like perspective is everything.
Yep, totally. Yeah. And I remember when I first started out too, I was like, I remember like I gave a dig to my fiance at the time. I was like, oh, you're only making like that. Like I can make that in a month, like easily. Or something, or like, it's like, what? Like, you
like
right now. That was a problem. But
that's
like,
so funny.
But then a couple months later, I was like, I'm not making any money. He's like, oh, interesting. But I just think that we can like, yeah, it's like this bubble that we live in sometimes. And it's like, it's just very interesting to see like, I don't know, on the outside and what's inside of our bubble. So
exactly.
Yeah, really, really interesting stuff there. And so for you, you were just sharing, like you were just going on a run before this, like what does a typical day in the life look like for you? Do you have like certain like non-negotiables that are like outside of your business? I would just love to hear like more of like the behind the scenes in the life of Lacy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my like daily non-negotiables are definitely like some time for myself. Like if that's like being outside is huge for me. Like that's definitely where I recharge. But at the beginning of my business, it was like I was not leaving the house and it was such a problem. And so like runs, walk, time with my dogs outside, like that has become like necessary. And also like it feeds my business. Like I will take walks and like record content into a notes section, or I have like great ideas when I'm doing that. So, you know, it's not even like they're not connected. Like it definitely serves both, but I like have to have that or I lose my mind. And then I think just like white space, whatever that looks like on a specific day. But, you know, like when you're like kind of that beginning stage and you're building, there's like almost no white space. And so I just want to like, again, like kind of like cherish the gift. Like now that I've gotten to this point and I have a team and whatever, like I have to like acknowledge that and like appreciate it and like actually take that gift of some white space sometimes, even though like occasionally it feels weird or it feels like, but I should be doing this. Like I really try to be consistent with that.
Yeah, I love that. And I do too, for the most part in these past 2 weeks. Like I've been terrible about it. Like I've had calls like from morning to night. Like I have really strict boundaries too about when I have calls and I've been totally breaking them. I'm like getting sick and I'm like, oh shit. Like, and I'm like, all right, reality check. Like I need to make that space again. And sometimes we let those things slip, but I know for myself that if I don't have that space for myself for that time, then I can't show up fully as like who I want to be in my coaching and like as CEO inside of my business. And so I think that so often we let those like little things slip, but really like it's those small habits that we do on a regular basis that create the biggest shifts. And we like, or at least I let those things go first. It's like my basic needs. I let those go first. It's like, wait, no, you can't survive if you're not doing those things.
Like eating, sleeping, those good things. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And so when it comes to success for you and like what that means, is there any like 3 things so that you do in a regular basis inside of your business that you're like, these happen no matter what, because I know when I do this, like this is when I thrive and this is when my clients thrive too.
Yeah, definitely. So one of them is kind of like what I said earlier, the idea of like, I engage with my community every day. There's basically not a day that goes by where that doesn't happen. And I think, again, it's just different days look different. I mean, some days it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but like that always happens. I definitely do my own mindset work. I think that's a huge piece of it for me, and like for staying high vibe, for creating success, for showing up for my clients. That is just something that I really try to be consistent with. And then I would say the last thing is just kind of like picking a focus, I guess is how I would say that, or being like willing to have a focus, not trying to do all the things. Like I try to know like what's my main objective right now? Like, is it list growth? Is it one-on-one clients? Is it to sell a program? Whatever it is. And I try to go all in on making decisions around that, because I think there's a way that decision fatigue can creep in so quickly when you're like trying to like decide about all the things. So focus for me has been huge, because if not, I get a little bit anxious and just like don't make good decisions.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And I know a lot of people too, like are fascinated by like morning ritual. And so when you said mindset, is it something that you have a certain practice that you do without fail, or do you have like a couple of different things that you do? Is it more of like a flowy thing for you, or more of a rigid thing? Can you share a little bit more about that?
So it used to be a lot more rigid. Like I kind of felt like, I don't know, it just became like a to-do list item, right? Like this is something I have to do to be successful, right? Or something like that. And I just don't do well with that. Like I need freedom through and through. That's why I can't work for anybody else, right? Like, so that just started to feel icky. So now I do like what I'll call like a power hour, although it's never an hour. It's just what I call it. And I just try to like ask myself, like, what do I need right now? And like, so some days that's like, actually, I just need to like watch Netflix, or some days that's like, I need to meditate or journal or whatever. But I really try not to keep a specific practice anymore, just because I know that for me, that like my freedom like filter will start being like, oh, I hate this, we're not doing it.
I'm like literally the exact same way. Like I would get excited about a new routine, like, oh, this is great, like I'm gonna do it. I do it for 2 days. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, this fucking sucks. Like,
yes,
another chore. I'm like, how do people do this mindset thing? So now I literally have it. It's called like my magic hour. And I have it in my calendar, literally same exact thing. Like I know like what can get me into a high vibe, or I have all these options, and I'm just like, how do I want to feel? Like, what do I want to experience? Like, okay, take that action. So
exactly.
I can relate to that.
And like, I'm not really someone who's great about checking in with myself. So it sort of like forces me to like do a check-in too. Like, what do I actually need? Like, what a revolutionary question to ask yourself, right?
I have like a sticky note, like right on my computer. That's basically, what do I desire? Like, what do I want to learn or experience or explore today? What would be the most exciting thing to do right now?
Yes.
I have to keep it here though, or else like I forget.
Yeah, totally. You're like, and now I've not asked myself all day, and I haven't eaten or done anything I should have or wanted to or whatever. It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah, exactly. So like I'm staring at my computer all day, so like I have to see that and be like, oh, okay, like, yep, I'm not doing what I want to be doing right now. Time to shift. Like, what else do I need? So yeah, totally feel you on that. All right, last thing before you go, is there any type of like truth of yours that you've been afraid or nervous or unsure about sharing that you've recently shared with people, or like a side of yourself that you've recently exposed? Or is there like anything that you feel like is like a growth edge for you that you have been wanting to share more of, but has been like a little bit scary for you, but you know is like that next thing in your evolution, if that makes sense?
Yeah. I'll say 2 things. So one was when I did the partnership last round, I asked them to complete like a business plan and tell me a lot about their business. And so I felt like I wanted to be transparent on the other side of that. So I literally put out like all of my numbers for the year, like what I made, what I spent, all of that. And I remember that day was so intense. Like I like hit post and I just was like, I think I might actually throw up. Like like that level of intensity of kind of like sharing that, because same reason we were talking about before, like, is it valid? Are people going to think it's too much or not enough, or criticize what I spent here or there? So that was like a huge one for me. And probably like when I think about the most vulnerable I've ever felt in my business, that was maybe it.
That's amazing. I mean,
like standing there naked.
I can only imagine like how that would feel. So that's amazing that you did that. It's really cool.
Thank you. And then I think like sort of similar to what we're talking about, like I think that sometimes our industry swings, like, you know, it's like follow this 5-step formula, or it's like do whatever feels good all the time. And I really want my like current message or my evolving message to be like, do both. Like be smart, use smart strategies, do things that work, right? Like I'm not a big fan of like, just do it however you want in the very moment that you want. Cause I just don't think that that totally moves us forward. Like learn from the people that have gone before you, but also bring in what you want. So I like want to be that middle ground message. Cause I just don't think there it's out there enough. I think it's so one way or the other. And like, everybody's so confused. Like, should I follow your system or should I do whatever feels good at any moment of the day ever? It's just so confusing.
I'm so with you there. And like, I geek out on strategy. I'm like, I love it. And at the same time, I'm like, fuck that. Don't tell me what to do. So I'm with you. Like, I think that it's like, you have to blend the two together. And sometimes that's like really hard because sometimes we just want to like know the magical formula or pill. And so step by step can be super nice where it's like, oh, if I just do whatever I want, like I kind of have an excuse to like not like look at my numbers or not like, you know, commit to something. So
or not like push your comfort zone, right?
Yeah. So I think they can both be actually really dangerous. And it's like the finding the blend is like the challenging part, but that's also like where the magic is. So I totally feel you on that. But yeah, it's hard because I do see it's like do this or do that. It's like you're made wrong. And so part of like this series.
Yes, you're made wrong. So true.
Like, no matter what you do, it's like not safe. It's like crazy. It's so crazy. And so part of like what this series like I'm aiming to do is like there actually are some people who have been talking about like I don't follow any structure. And some people who are like, and I need the structure. And so I don't think there is like any one right or wrong way. It's like, if it works for you, it works for you. And that's like what matters. And so I love that you're like, I'm middle ground because I am too. But I think that it can work in any way, shape or form, but hopefully people are seeing that like from you and from our other guests and from myself, like there really is no one way and we're all successful like on our own terms. And we're still striving for other things too. Like none of us have made it. That's like good enough. I could go on a whole rant about this, but how we're just like all put on these pedestals and it's like, we're humans. We have like all these problems too. We're not perfect. And I think that like from putting people on pedestals, we like see like a human side of a coach. And I know this has been true for me in the past. And I'm like, oh, I don't really like seeing that human side. I thought you were perfect. Like, what the hell? And I've been so disappointed. So I'd rather people be like, see my human side and my flaws and know like, okay, that's what I'm getting before they get into a relationship with me.
So true. So true. Absolutely. And actually, I think as vulnerable as I felt with that, putting out the money piece, in some ways that really freed me a lot too, because it was like, don't like, you can think whatever you want from this, but like, this is like my truth. I'm not like on this pedestal. I made some great decisions and some not great decisions, and that's how this looks.
Yeah, no, and actually Jess Rasdell, who was on the podcast, this series before, was sharing like about her history and how like she was in a drunk driving accident and killed her best friend, and now it's out there. She like makes sure people knows her story before they start working with her, so everything's on the table, like nothing's hidden. And I think that that's like the best way to do it personally.
Definitely. So funny that you mentioned her. This is just totally an aside, but also like speaks to the power of sharing that. Jess was supposed to come to a brunch that I was doing in the area we live in, and she was thinking about backing out. And I like looked her up and I was like, oh my God, she actually came and spoke to my sorority 10 years ago. And I remembered her and I like got goosebumps and I was like, holy crap, I remember you. I remember everything you said, whatever. And then she was like, okay, now I'm going to come because it's out on the table and like my truth is out. And so like that is like perfect example of that.
That's amazing. And that's like, it's so crazy. Like how like in a past life and then like in this world, you guys have come together again. Oh, I love her. That's amazing.
Yeah. But you know, having your truth out there is very powerful.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Yeah. So, okay, wrapping up, where can people find you if they want to explore more about your offerings or experience your amazing community? Where can they find you?
Yeah. So my Facebook community is called The Lit Up and Loaded Entrepreneur, and my website is alituplife.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and for exposing sides of your business that people may not have known about already. This was super fun for me too, to just like learn a little bit more about you. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Of course.